Estimable administrators of Ibn Khaldun University, uh, esteemed professors, dear students, distinguished guests, I would like to wholeheartedly greet you all. I am very pleased to be with you all in the occasion of this meaningful event. The first phase of the Ibn Haldun University's social complex has been completed, and it has started serving for our people and students, and I hope that it will be auspicious for our scientific world and for our country. I would like to thank to Sheikh Islam Allah Şükür Paşazade from Azerbaijan, and representing our friends from Qatar, Sheikh Hamas Bil Ansari. I would like to thank to them for sharing our joy today. In 1996, I was personally a member of Istanbul Youth and Service Foundation, and the seeds of this university were planted back in 1996, and from scholarships to education in many fields. Our country has become an important brand, if you will, across the world, and I would like to thank to everyone who contributed to such services, everyone who contributed with their alms and services and with their philanthropic acts. And Ibn Khaldun University social complex will represent its philosophical know-how, its architecture as well as its equipment will inspire many people in true sense of the words. The students will have all the means during their classes and outside the classrooms, and the social complex was built through inspiration we have taken from Mimar Sinan, the great architect. And undergraduate, graduate and PhD students have now the chance to study in such a beautiful atmosphere, and they will open the doors of a new era in the field of social sciences. And I firmly believe in a couple of years all the university social complex, the campus itself, the surrounding of the university will be very attractive. It will be beautifully green and attractive very soon. And since its establishment, our university has always, of course, given us the signals that it will be one of the best. From its foundation to its construction, there have been many who contributed to the growth and improvement of our university, and I would like to thank to each and every one of them, all the architects, all engineers, all contracting companies, contractors, and all workers, of course, everyone. I would like to extend my special thanks personally and on behalf of my nation. Dear brothers and sisters, Ibn Khaldun was a figure who was a states figure, a philosopher who had a great intellect, and he is considered as the founder of the science of sociology. He defined it as al-umran, and he spent his life in Tunisia, Algeria, and Delusia, and Egypt, and spent his life with science and as being an administrator, and he wrote the great work Muqaddimah, and offered it to the service of humanity. This great scholar explained the purpose of al-Umran and said that it helps us understand what happened before and what might happen the next. So this very framework is representing the values on which our university has been established. So we can see the manifestations of this understanding, this approach in our everyday life. Because every incident we experience shows that it is not possible to understand the future without coming to grips with the past. And we cannot put the political and economic aspects aside only, but if we do so, we can say that the Western world, for example, from medicine to sociology, has taken their source of inspiration from our own roots. And on the other hand, we either forgot our own roots or isolated, alienated those, and therefore, for the past 2 centuries, we have been endeavoring to find our path, our route. In other words, we are struggling to find our own. But the political independence, as well as economic independence, is related with intellectual independence. Therefore, the discussions from the past to our day, from the Ottoman Empire to our day, are related with the question of where to look for our past. So the Western world had a great leap forward in science, positive sciences, but their dominant power, of course, has not given us the chance to discuss and elaborate on this matter of the roots of intellectuality very well. And we ended up in a storm of westernization. All of a sudden, to raise civilizations who have free minds and conscience was an issue we could not maybe fully achieve. And there are at least people who tried to achieve so, but their voice and production fell short because of the minds who defended westernization unconditionally from a fascist point of view. Turkey has ensured its self-confidence politically, economically, and in the field of military, and this very era now gives us a chance to engage in such intellectual discussions on a much more equal and fair grounds. And hopefully Turkey will conclude such a series of discussions and contemplation with a great spiritual guidance and wisdom. Having power and coming to power, I believe, is to be distinguished, and the guests here know the difference very well, because the real power comes from intellectual power, as we all reckon very well. All the members of the society, including each and every intellectual, the power only goes through intellectual power and capacity, and it is a rough patch. It is a challenge in and out of itself, and I feel myself a little alone in that area. Over the past 18 years, in every field, we have undertaken many historic projects. But when it comes to education, training, and culture, I believe we have not achieved the improvement we have desired. That's why. And I would like to claim, because considering the Western universities, we see that they could not still achieve the level we had done in the past, and they could not in the secondary schools or elementary schools in terms of capacity, and we now have to improve the quality and the quality for choice. We can see a certain level of quality, but I have to say clearly that we have a young population, thank God, but not a highly um, qualified level of education, maybe. And the media has the power, but they do not reflect on our own power and voice in science and culture. In knowledge, we are faced with the same problems. Even in the matters, about the matters we are righteous, we fall unable to express ourselves. And I believe we are in a position which still makes it difficult for us to build, to construct our intellectual specialization. This is indeed a process, and ending that process to seek after intellectual prosperity is to be continuous, and an end to it means the collapse of a civilization. And this intellectual specialization should be built by the people of science, arts, and intellect, and the political circles only provide them the grounds on which they will act. Therefore, a certain portion of the responsibility lies on our shoulders, and the other portion of it belongs for the people of intellect and intellectuals overall to assume. The theories, antitheses, the knowledge available in the world should be acquired, and are acquired by the intellects, and this is what we need, the guidance of our intellects, because there are certain fanatics who defend dogmatically what is put in front of them, and it will do no good for himself and for the society he lives in. It means imitating, and while on the other hand we take our inspiration from our civilization and traditions when it comes to novelties and innovation. Of course, we are not disconnected from the realities. But we know that the communication media is advancing very fast, and the whole world has now become a small village, if you will, and it is not easy to act in this world if you do not follow the most advanced developments. And of course, we do not have an idea to put the cars or vehicles aside and go back to coaches. And it is, of course, not that we will be obsessed with adhering to old methodologies or techniques. But of course, we will be following the innovation. What concerns us, what is the matter for us, is indeed different when we talk about our traditions. The actual order and the intellectual process in the world should be followed, but we believe that we cannot create and build a very new civilization only by following what is dominant in the world. We should be engaged in the decisiveness and the process of creating our own and going back to our own to build up in it. So other than that, we should be reinterpreting everything, reproducing everything by way of embracing our past and the future. In other words, our belief, our people, of course, are the things we will stand for. We will not turn our backs to it, but we won't, on the other hand, reject or refuse the new opportunities offered by the new world. And we will be going after greater goals with the power we take from the both. And the human beings, from time to time, in a good way, and from some other times in a bad way, renews themselves. Therefore, we have been called to justice and fairness through new prophets, and our worlds have been reinterpreted, and in the field of intellect, we should be striving to be the producers, because the biggest legacy we will hand over the next generations will be possible through intellectual productivity. And with this belief, we will continue to work with full belief. Uh, Rather than fixating on Westernism, Turkey has been, of course, exposed to many rigid ideologies. Our intellectual legacy was taken over by other civilizations, and it is because some cleared the path for those manipulated minds. There were some who tried to raise a generation which went after rigid ideologies instead of fatwa. Many tears we wept, much blood we had shed was related with this intellectual occupation we faced in the past. However, the generations we should raise must be much more well trained and equipped. Therefore, what we should do is to act in accordance with our own values of civilization and raise generations accordingly. Turkey's 2053 goal should be based on this very theme. Distinguished professors, distinguished guests from the past to our day, the education system of Turkey was basically established on the idea of providing materialistic knowledge to our students only, and the spiritual aspect of that was neglected, especially with the impacts of the media. The traditional forms of education lost power and capacity, and there appeared a gap in the minds and the hearts of our young people spiritually, and their hearts and minds were filled with certain delusions. And therefore, we should restart from our families and get engaged in duly raising and educating our children, and it requires a well-rooted and fully mobilized act of reform. And therefore, we should embrace our culture, our traditions, values, languages, and educate and raise people who own up to all of these. When it comes to the other matters, we should not be concerned because our children will have a long path of learning ahead of themselves. Uh, we should help our students explore their capacities and skills intellectually and physically, and we should form this for them. And when they come to their high school years, they should be at a level to know who they are and what they can do, and then we should design the education system in a way which will ensure that when it comes to higher education, from the from the undergraduate studies to graduate and PhD studies, we should ensure that our universities become the places of specialization. And once we can achieve all those, we will be creating a brighter future, open the gates for a brighter future for our young generations and for our very selves. And I believe in that. So Ibn Haldun University is actually is one of the first and most significant steps of making this dream come true and come into existence. Once again, I would like to thank to everyone who contributed to the process of the foundation of our university and bringing our university to this very day. I would like to thank to the contractors, to the builders of the complex, social complex, all the engineers, architects, and workers. And I also would like to thank to the philanthropists who contributed tremendously to the completion of the project. Because since we opened this university for service, we have had the chance to see indeed that this is a great work of art that represents our past, our current day, and our future. Therefore, I would like to especially thank to them. And I once again would like to welcome our brothers and sisters coming from different parts of the world. And I wish a very successful year of education for our students and our professors. I would like to share my love and respect one more time. Thank you very much. Stay in health.
Cumhurbaşkanımız Sayın Recep Tayyip Erdoğan'a konuşmalarından dolayı teşekkürlerimizi sunuyor ve Zalz devletlerini bir müddet sahnede misafir ediyoruz. Günün anısına Sayın Cumhurbaşkanımıza hediyelerini takdim etmek üzere İbn Haldun Üniversitesi Mütevelli Heyet Başkanı Profesör Doktor Sayın İrfan Gündüz'ü sahneye davet ediyoruz. Buyurunuz lütfen.